around you. Let them know that we are live right now. I mean, there are people around you whom you know need to get the value that you are getting from this program, and you need to do well to share it with them. Let them know by sending them a shared link of the broadcast that we are live right now. It's going to be amazing, amazing, amazing time today. Thank you so much for joining in. So it's good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to every one of us, and depending on your time zone, whatever part of the world you're following from. But mainly for us in Nigeria and in West Africa, it's good evening. And this is just about 15 minutes past the hour of 7 p.m. And I know today is going to be amazing, amazing. So please share the link with as many as you can. And once you're done with that, I'd like you to move straight to the live chat session on Facebook or on YouTube. And I'd like you to engage with me there in the comment section. Let me know what nation you're following from, your city, your nation. Let me know what you think about the program. And as we progress through the program, be sure to leave down points deduced from the session that really blesses you. Just put them down there. It shows that you are following the program. It shows that it's interactive. And also be free to ask your questions. Every now and then we'll go through the chat to check for questions, to see those who may have questions that needs to be answered, whether as regards the topic or as regards any of the previous subjects that we have handled. So I'd like you to do that. Once you're done liking and sharing, please come with me at the live chat session and let me know where you are following from, and then just engage with me on that platform. Now, if you're watching by YouTube, I'd like you, if this is your first time, or maybe you are a returning viewer and you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, what are you waiting for? I want you to take this opportunity, hit the subscribe button right away. All right? Now, the reason for this is there are so many contents coming on our YouTube channel almost on a daily that will really bless you, from posts to videos, so many things that are highly impactful, highly informative, that you will really enjoy to inspire you on a daily. So please subscribe and be amongst those who are on that platform. However, if you're watching by Facebook, do well to follow the page and be part of our social community. Be part of everything we are doing on social media as you follow our Facebook page. That being said, I can see quite a number of people already on the YouTube channel. So good to have every one of us here again. Johanna says, watching from FCT Abuja. Johanna Habila says, watching from FCT Abuja. That means you've returned back, because I think I saw you last week in our program. It's good to have you. James says, evening Apostle sir. Good evening, sir. It's good to have you here. Dave Ritchie says, good evening, Daddy, watching from Maiduguri. Well, thank you, Dave, for being here. And more and more people coming in. I also want to thank all our returning viewers. Thank you for your consistency. Thank you for being a part of this broadcast. It will not be possible without you, and I know that you will be blessed. I know that you will be highly transformed, informed, and I know that your mindset is changing as we continue with the discussions on this broadcast. So that being said, let's pray and begin right away. Father, thank you for everyone watching right now around the world, YouTube, on Facebook. Thank you because you will bring us to the understanding of everything discussed, and you'll help us to interact with your wisdom. Let our minds experience change and transformation. Give us value and quality content that will increase the value of our lives and shape our paradigms. In Jesus' name, amen. I also pray that you have a stable network where you're watching from as we begin today. So let's finish our discussion on the cutting edge leader. We started 2 Fridays ago talking about it. We had to break last Friday because we had an annual program. But we're here again, and I want us to conclude this discussion because we're going to have another subject to talk about next week, the cutting edge leader. So far, in the first broadcast, we've done justice to almost the entire subject, but the part of it that we will treat today is going to be mainly interactive. I want you to watch out for a contrast that I want to present to you, a contrast between different kinds of leadership that I want to present to you. I think that will really, really help every one of us. But then again, we started by defining what cutting edge is. I said that the cutting edge represents the forefront or position of greatest advantage in some field. The forefront, or being a frontliner, or being at a position of greatest advantage or advancement in a field. It also means to be trendy or to stay up to date. When you're cutting edge, it means you are trendy about events within your field. If, for instance, you are at the cutting edge of technology, it means you are in the know of the latest in the world of technology, whether it has to do with phones, smartphones, especially with the resurgence or the insurgence of AI. And it's really changing the communication space. AI is really changing the communication space a great deal. As a matter of fact, AI has come to stay. So it's important that everybody stays at the cutting edge with technology in their various fields. To be cutting edge also means to be a frontliner, like I said. It means to be a pioneer. It also means to be a pace setter, one who sets the pace and others follow. Whether you are in the banking or financial world, whether you are in the corporate world, whether in the humanitarian space, or perhaps you're in the military or paramilitary, in every field of life, in the academia, in every branch of the academia, you find yourself. When you are the cutting edge, you are a pace setter, you are a frontliner, you are the one who sets the benchmark. Everybody looks up to you, to advance. People will look up to you as a model and take example from you. People will take dressing from what you do. You become trendy. You become what's trending. It's a highly sought after space. Everybody wants to be at the top of their game. Everybody wants to put on their stellar performance in everything they do so that they can stand out and be outstanding. And it's my desire that you will be a cutting edge leader. Leadership is mainly about influencing people. When you are a leader, you are a major source of influence, steering people towards the right direction and helping to solve problems and achieve goals. Whether you are a positional leader, or you are a leader by your personality, or you are a leader by your productivity, as long as you are exerting influence on people that steers them towards a direction, and you would want to also wish the right direction. It is important to know that you not only can be an exceptional leader, but you can also become the cutting edge leader. I told us some of the things to note. I said that your success, your results, and not your goals defines who you are. Who you are is defined by your results, your success, what you do, not your goals. You see, a lot of people can wish to do something and not do it. A lot of people can want to be something and not that thing. You see, when you deal with success or you deal with results, you're dealing with facts. You're dealing with what you have done, what is on ground, what you can show. And brothers and sisters, in this age where we live in, it's your result that speaks for you. In fact, your brand is created by your results. A track record of what you have achieved is what creates your brand, is what announces your brand and your personality and who you are to people. Now, you know that also means that what you do is a product of who you are. And I've said that, you know, when we dealt around the topic of success. Number 2, I said when you decide to lead with distinction, you become distinguished. When you make a desire in your heart that I'm going to set the pace and others will follow, I won't wait for others to do or initiate and then I get to follow. When you decide to lead with distinction, you become distinguished. What makes you distinguished is not really your portfolio. It's not really the position you occupy. It is when you decide to be a leader with distinction. When you bring in excellence into what you do, you become distinguished. Number 3, I said for you to be outstanding, you must stand out. So this is a difference. This is not just a play of words. It's a difference between two realities: outstanding and standing out. If you want to be outstanding, you must stand out. You must seek to do things different. Remember, to be at the cutting edge means to be at the forefront. It means to be trendy. It means to set the pace. That means you must pay the price, make the sacrifice of going miles ahead of the crowd to know what has not been known. You must find a way of exporting your mind to the future that is yet gloomy and unknown within your generation, so that when that mind is imported back, you would have brought the future into your space. And that's when you become outstanding. That's when you become the benchmark. That's when you become the one who is trending. A lot of people are afraid of making the sacrifice of doing what has not been done. And I understand that most times fear comes as a result of ignorance. But you have to believe in yourself. You have to be confident in what you do. You have to be confident that your search to new grounds, to creating new solutions, is an experiment that can end up in something positive. You must take away your fear of failure and stir up your desire, your adventurous desire for success, to be able to stand out. Think of the fact that when you advance into new territories, when you venture out into new fields, when you break new grounds, of course there are challenges that comes with that. You know, you may have to source for resources that are not available. You may have to do things that violate the laws or the principles of the discipline of your field. You may have to go head on against certain people who anti-growth, who are anti-advancement. There are people who relax with the norm. They are okay with the norm. They don't want to do anything to forge ahead. They are okay with being average. But sometimes there's something in you that tells you there is more that can be done. And then you pay the price, to venture into new grounds. Think of the fact that you may probably create solutions that will help to solve a lot of problems around you. Listen, every one of us today are enjoying the benefits of cutting-edge leaders. Some cutting-edge leaders in history were innovators. Some of them were inventors. We wear clothes today of different fabrics with different styles because we have cutting-edge fashion designers, people who are always going ahead to make fashion more suitable, more comfortable, more luxurious for us. Think of mobile communication, for instance. It went from using a giant telephone to having something as small as this that is more powerful than that giant telephone. And do you know that discussions are already around the tech space? I mean, people like Elon Musk, last year they tested what they called, and I think in August last year, what they called the neural link. It was tested in August last year, a chip in the brain of an individual, because they're already discussing that very soon holding a phone will be too much of a burden. They'll find a way of inserting it in your brain. So instead of scrolling with your hands, you scroll with your imaginations, you scroll with your brain. Look at that. So people are, while there are others who sit down not doing anything in government, in civil service, in the humanitarian space, while there are people working in organizations where year in, year out, there is no innovation being done. It's just the same reports writing, the same format, the same kinds of project, nothing new. There are also others who are venturing into new grounds, new territories. And I tell you, life always rewards handsomely those who make a decision to live at the cutting edge. Of course, it's risky, but like they say in the business world, high risk, high rewards. And you want to be in a place where you are celebrated. The cutting edge leader. I also said that cutting edge leaders are the benchmark for success. You will use them to measure success. So when you become a cutting edge leader and become outstanding in your field, you will be used as the benchmark for success. You will use as the measuring stick, the yardstick, the measuring line for others. And I pray that every one of us will not only come to the cutting edge of our fields, but we will stay there. We'll become innovators. We'll become inventors. We'll become frontliners. We'll become pace setters. And of course, I gave you example of cutting edge leaders, of which I spoke capitally about the person of the Lord Jesus Christ, whom history respects as the most popular figure in the whole of history. And how that he did things different in his time. For instance, before when he came, people went from the law and the prophets to preaching the kingdom. When he came, he didn't teach like the religious leaders of his day. The Bible says in Mark chapter 1 that he taught as one who had authority. He demonstrated the things he taught. He practiced the things he taught. And so he was outstanding. He was different from the others. He set a new panacea for religious reforms, national reforms. He stirred up, he brought what leadership was. And I don't think there is a perfect example like the Lord Jesus. I mean, he taught principles that are now borrowed into every field in human endeavor today. And I urge you, regardless of your religion, that you will need to study. If you want to be at the cutting edge, you need to start your studies from the life and the person of Jesus Christ and learn how to go ahead of your generation and pull them along with you. And of course, we talked about the qualities, the principles for being a cutting edge leader. I said, number one, you must be business oriented. Treat what you do as business. Business people go into it for profit, not for show. So you must be business oriented. That will help you to manage time and manage resources and everything you do, and help you to be prompt. Number two, I said you must be creative. Creativity is important if you must be at the cutting edge. Learning to experiment with resources and tools you have, to be able to create, to innovate, to see things in the different light. Sometimes it's not necessarily creating something new. Sometimes it's just learning a new way of doing the same things. Number three, I said you must engage the power of discipline. And I said get used to a routine. I've often told people that routine is the root of success. Routine, R-O-U-T-I-N-E, is the root, R-O-O-T, of success. Your routine is what drives you, is what propels you, and that's what propels you into success, because your success defines you. So routines are the building blocks of consistency. And if you must be successful, you must create a system of discipline around your life, around your time, around your relationships, around your ethics, your principles. There has to be things you do and things you don't do. An Olympic athlete is different from any other athlete. When you see them in their training, they train for the Olympics. They train to compete on a global stage. And as a result, they will not pamper or pity themselves like other athletes. I watched a short video documentary of an Olympic gold medalist, I believe, from the United States of America. Her name is Sha'Carri Richardson. She's an athlete. You can go Google about her. I watched a documentary about her, how she started training from being a child. And I saw that she had training methods as a child who were things that even adults would not use. Sometimes she had to run with a parachute behind her. An opened parachute. That's running against the wind, because the wind will keep pulling the parachute or pushing the parachute behind her while she's running the opposite direction. So discipline is powerful to being at the cutting edge. We talked about building strategic relationships, the place of partnership with people in your field, people who know better, people in other fields that can help. Success is interactive. And that's why you need someone else's success to motivate you. However, if you don't find anybody around your field successful, then you will need to create what I call self-motivation. But it is good to relate with other people around you. I am of the opinion that leaders should fellowship with themselves. It's very, very important. You need that to be encouraged and to grow in your field. And of course, finally, you want to stay at the cutting edge, then you must pray. If you are religious, then you must believe in the power of the supernatural and learn to deploy it through prayers. It is very, very, very important. All right? Prayer has a way of helping you contend for new grounds, new heights. And it has a way of employing the forces of the supernatural to your advantage. The more you rise in the school of success is the more you realize the greater advantage that comes with partnering with the supernatural. All right, today I want to bring to us two different styles of leadership. Since we're talking about being at the cutting edge, I want us to contrast between two different styles of leadership. I want to pick two men from the Bible. One is called Saul, and the other is called David. Both of them were kings of Israel. In fact, one succeeded the other. King Saul was a king in Israel for about 40 years or so, and then when he died, after a while, David became a king. Of course, David served in Saul's army, was one of his captains, and was around the palace while Saul was king. So these were two leaders of a great nation, Israel. And it's a lot written about them in the Bible. And I want us to contrast between their leadership and find who truly exemplified the character or the principles of a cutting-edge leader. Okay, do we have any questions so far? None for now. Okay. So I want you, if you're writing, I want you to put a table. Now we're contrasting between Saul and David. Of course, both of them became kings at a young age. And both of them had no experience about kingship before, they were anointed to be kings. Saul was looking for a missing donkey for his father, and then he stumbled on the prophet Samuel in 1 Samuel chapter 9, and in chapter 10 he was anointed king and had to go for war the very next chapter to defend the integrity of the nation of Israel. David too, was sent forth from the field, coming home, realized it was a service where he was anointed as king. And so regardless of the fact that none of them had the experience of royalty, they were not born in the palace, they didn't grow up as princes or sons of kings, it's important to establish that regardless of the disadvantage in their startup, let's look at how each was able to overcome that disadvantage, find out and live out qualities that made them cutting-edge leaders. So for King Saul, let's look at the area of influencing men for both of them. How did they influence men? Their style of leadership in influencing men. For Saul, number one, Saul was used to conscripting men for his own ambitions. You find that if you read the book of 1 Samuel 14 verse 15, Saul will conscript. The Bible will say that any man whom he saw who had the potential of going to battle, he will conscript that person. He was building an army for himself. That means he didn't look for people he would train. He looked for people who already had it, and he took them in. But for David raised men by harnessing their potentials to fulfill their purpose. You find that in 1 Samuel 22. David, on the other hand, wasn't just conscripting people to build an army like Saul. He raised men and helped them to harness their potentials to fulfill their purpose. Meaning every man that David raised, he saw in them the potential of a warrior. He had a purpose. Build Israel to become a sovereign state of her own and defend the integrity of her borders. But David didn't rely on just looking for ready-made vessels. In building an army, he raised people, he trained them. A cutting-edge leader doesn't just go after people because they already have it. No. It's one thing to have people who have potentials who are already sharpened. And there are many people who feel that life will be easy for them, or whatever it is that they do will be easy for them if they have people who are already professionals working with them. Now, there is a truth in that. But you see, as a leader, you are one of the first steps towards purpose when your followers come to you. You are supposed to help them discover their purpose as they follow you, as they serve you. You are supposed to create an environment to help them find that and help them utilize their potential in fulfilling that purpose. And that means you have to see into the people around you. So if you are given a group to lead and you find that they are all average in their understanding about what is to be done, do you see in them the potentials of being professionals, experts in that field? Or do you just depend on looking for professionals and thinking it will be easy if I have ready-made people? No soldier is born, every soldier is trained. No leader is born, every leader is made. So that's the first thing we see when it comes to influencing men. Number two, we also see that, for Saul, he deployed men for the immediate cause at hand. Once there was a battle, he deployed men to fight. We never heard of where they were trained. We never heard of where they were reserved in case there was going to be a future conflict. But for David, he believed in training and capacity building. In fact, do you know that there was a time in the life of Saul where only him and his son Jonathan had weapons? You see that in 1 Samuel 14. Only the two of them had weapons. But David had a large army. He believed in training them. He believed in capacity building. Do you know that in fact in 1 Samuel chapter 30, when David was pursuing the Amalekites after they attacked Ziklag where he was residing, he divided his men into two. He kept some to stay with the equipment, to stay with their supplies, and then he went with others. And that's the first time in the history of soldiering where you find, apart from infantry soldiers, you have soldiers in the category of transport and supply, logistics. And that's a branch in the army. You see all of this because David believed in training and capacity building. He believed that there was more to what a man could do than just fighting. Number three, that, and you know what that point means. It means you need to have a vision that helps you appreciate almost every potential in a man. Listen to me. Every man knows how to do more than one thing. Talents, are in two ways: innate or derived. Skill can either be received by training or can be innate. You need to help develop both. You need to find all the things that a man can do and then begin to train them to harness those potentials that they have. Becoming a leader's leader. That's what makes you a cutting-edge leader. Number three, Saul empowered himself to lead others, but David empowered others to help him lead. Now hear this. To attain good governance, one must be willing to give power to the people. And that's true. I just told you that in 1 Samuel chapter 14, you'll find that at a time, only Saul and Jonathan had weapons. And whereas the whole army of men in Israel had none. That's a leader who empowers himself to lead. He believes in enriching himself. Unfortunately, in Africa and in some third world nations today, we still have political leaders who believe that getting into political position is to exploit the state's resources for themselves instead of utilizing it by using it to empower the people that they are governing, so that with those people they can build a sovereign state and a great nation. Good governance is giving power to the people. And every cutting-edge leader knows that when I have people around me who are empowered, then I can lead them. Because when they are empowered, they can walk. When they are empowered, they can serve. When they are empowered, they can reach the fullness of their potential. And that was the kind of person David was. Now, for you to empower others, you must be selfless. You must look beyond yourself. You must look beyond gaining for yourself. You must look beyond enriching yourself. As a matter of fact, you must not desire anything in the position you aspire for. If you aspire for a position to lead people, if you aspire for a level of influence, you mustn't desire what the people need to be empowered to serve you. And that's the reason why God, before he lifts you to a position, he takes away the desire in your heart for that position. The best way for a man to be prudent with money is to kill the desire for money in his heart. The best way for a spouse to help keep the other is to kill the desire of wanting to have a spouse for themselves. You know, I watched a short video of a woman, and she said something. She was talking about her husband. She said something very striking, that, you know, when she was pregnant, she went through a challenging process, and she saw how her husband was there for her, really supportive, and she realized that her husband had a stronger desire to be a husband than to have a wife. And it is the truth. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have very few people who want to be selfless. Number 4, Saul consolidated on gains and public funds as the strength of his reign. Let me say that again. Saul consolidated on gains and public funds as the strength of his reign. You know, when Saul was to become king, God warned the people through Samuel that you asking for a king, he's going to come and enrich himself. He will make your daughters cooks and perfumers. You know, he will take your land for himself. You want them. Eventually, that was the kind of leader that Saul became. Consolidated on gains and public funds. Everything was for him. But for David was given to socio-economic transformation and nation building. That's the reason why in the reign of David, you could see and project a graph on the prosperity of Israel. You could see how they prospered. You could see the economic growth of Israel. They prospered so much that when David was to die, even though he didn't build the temple, he had saved up more than enough. And that's why Solomon had it easy. But you don't hear of anything around the growth of the economy of Israel during the time of Saul. Read the whole of 1 Samuel from chapter 10, where Saul was anointed king, till he died in chapter 31. You don't ever see anything written about the economic growth of Israel. You want to be at the cutting edge? Seek transformation of the system that you want to lead. Seek to build. Have the courage and the patience and the selflessness and the will to build. Build a sustainable system that will favor everybody. Nobody eats from a tree that has not started bearing fruit. Grow that tree. Let it bear fruit. and then let everybody around who contributed to the growth of that tree taste of it. It's, in other words, build a system that works. Now, one of the reasons why many people in the tech space are becoming rich, in fact, most of the major billionaires we have in the world today are from the tech space. Why? It's very easy. They don't really, the systems they build empowers people. They build solutions. Their inventions helps to empower many other communities and many other organizations and many other nations. And then they gain from it. So build a system that is win-win. There are some Ponzi scheme, when it comes to wealth and finances, and all of this scheme where they say, you bring other people and that's how you grow. So it makes you enriched using those under. That doesn't work. That's the reason why you see people in the tech space seem to enjoy more, or the industrialists. Number 5, Saul built an empire for himself. But David built a name for his people, Israel. Saul built an empire for himself. He focused on being king. And anybody who was a threat to his kingship, he fought them. That's why he nearly killed David. But never at a time did David hunt anybody who he even suspected of rebellion. Never. Even when his own son chased him away from the palace, he still sought reunity until the son eventually died in battle. David sought to build a name for his people. He wanted Israel to have a name amongst the other kingdoms and nations. Now, think of when you start your company or your organization. The first gains that begin to come, the first set of profits. An average young man or woman, especially in Africa, because in Western nations, those things don't really fancy them. Cars, houses, and all of that. No, they don't really. And you can even see an under 25, driving a car, and you can see an elderly person or somebody who's so rich still taking the train. But in Africa, we tend to want to flaunt wealth. We reduce the stakes of success to mean that it is about material acquisitions. Hence the reason why we have a lot of people still pilfering and stealing from national resources. Think of growing the name of your brand. Think of growing the name of your organization. And so instead of beginning to eat the first proceeds, reinvest it. Grow it. Let it become a name. When it becomes a big name, its value increases, and then it attracts greater prosperity. Like David, one of the ways he did it was he built a government and he also built an army. And he was focused on fighting all the wars. And he did. He fought all the battles. When Solomon came, he didn't fight any battle. Fought all the battles, conquered all the kingdoms, built a name for Israel, made them strong and formidable, a formidable force to reckon with. And those who could not face them became their allies. So instead of building an empire for yourself, you will stand alone. Why not building a name? Get people that can share in your success. That's the thing about being a cutting edge. When you think of creating a solution, or you think of finding a new pathway, is it just a name for yourself? Or is it because you want to uplift the value or the status of your field, of your discipline, of your profession? It's something you need to look at. So I think we'll stop with these 5 points. There are so many others, but we can make do with these 5 points. Now, these are contrasting points between two kinds of leadership, and then you can go back review them within the context of your understanding and the field or discipline where you are placed, and choose for yourself, what kind of cutting edge leader do I want to be? That's the reason for this contrast. I have one last word, but before that, let's check if we have questions. There is? Okay. All right. I believe we've been enjoying, the lesson so far, becoming a cutting edge leader. I want you to listen to this, and as we bring the discussion to a close, leadership has a lot to do with replication and multiplication. It's important to increase numerically and vitally. There is replication and multiplication in your growth. Multiplication deals with numbers. Replication deals with patterns. Multiplication deals with quantity. Replication deals with quality. Multiplication deals with containers, systems. Replication deals with contents, innovations. And these are two aspects of growth that are very, very important. And of course, it's good for us to know that, at the peak or at the height, the zenith of being a cutting edge leader, there has to be people who know what you know. There has to be people who can replicate what you have done. You see, success is predictable when there is a pattern to follow. If people cannot do what you have done, if your principles cannot work for somebody else, then your achievements can be questioned. But if your principles are able to establish the same or even greater results for people, then you are truly a cutting-edge leader. It means people will follow you, not just because of what you have done, but because of your personality. And someday we'll all die. Nobody will live in this earth forever. If your success ends with you for as long as you are alive, then there will be no legacy left of you. But if you seek to create a legacy, then you'll have to look for people that you empower, people that you can teach what you have done, replicate yourself in them, and multiply them so that they can carry out that format into whether it is that field or different fields. And that's when your name really becomes great as one who has set the pace. I'll give you an example. There's a leader in Africa called Nelson Mandela. Every time you talk about Nelson Mandela, you think of democracy. You think of good governance. You think of the fight for freedom. And so Nelson Mandela, even though he's dead now, has become more than a name. He has become a pattern. There are other leaders like him, Kwame Nkrumah of Ghana, and the likes. When you think of these men, you think of a pattern of genuine success. I thank God that there are still people who have a flair for organic success, success that is not gotten by ill will or by whims or schemes or caprices. No, success that is organic. When people think of you in your field, what comes to their mind? What motivation does your legacy leave for others? Can people read your books? Can people look at your report or what is said about you? and be motivated to become like you or even become greater than you. Jesus, the greatest cutting-edge leader that I know, before he left this earth, he told his followers, his disciples, he said that if you believe in me, the works that I do, you will do them, and even greater works, because I am going. Let what you do not end with you. Find someone that you can replicate yourself in. Teach them your success. Teach them the principles, the formula. Teach them your failures, because they will encounter failures on that path. And let them know how to turn their failures to be stepping stones to become great success. Let your story inspire a generation to pursue their purpose and to pursue the cause of building systems that work and creating a society filled with solutions for human existence to thrive. Well, I believe that this session has been informative, and I know there's a lot to draw from today's discussion. So my email is on the chat. Do well to write me if you have questions or you have suggestions of discussions you want us to handle, topics, subjects you want us to treat. Please do well to talk to me about them, and we'll get to review them and bring it to be part of our discussions every Friday. But for now, stay blessed and have an amazing weekend. I'm sure to see you next Friday again for another exciting episode, greater discussions that we are going to have, and trust me, it's going to be an amazing time. I know we're in the festive season, so I want to wish you compliments of the season, and for those of you who travel, safe travels all the way. Stay connected on this platform even as we come back to you again next Friday. Good evening, and from myself and the team in the studio, it's bye for now. Thank you.